without question, the Jehovah's Witness faith should be regarded as a cult. They are not a Christian organization. However, there is one point that should be noted, and that is this, that a person could possibly be a Jehovah's Witness or part of the Jehovah's Witness and still be a Christian. Here's how. Being a Jehovah's Witness does not necessarily mean that you know everything about what the whole organization entails. Just like being a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that all Christians understand what the tenets of Christianity are. No faith can make that claim that all of their adherents understand what's going on in that particular group. The same holds true with Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's possible that there are some who have come to a trusting faith in Christ, yet don't fully understand what's going on in the Jehovah's Witness group. This is an organization that is ran by the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, a group that calls itself the mouthpiece of God. However, a closer look will find out that they are anything but a mouthpiece of God. In order to kind of see what they're about, to get a good understanding of Jehovah's Witnesses, you have to first start with the founding of the group. That was by a man by the name of Charles Taze Russell, who by any account would be categorized as a snake oil salesman. This guy was not a good man whatsoever. He was a person who believed, or at least spoke about, how there are no good churches, there are no Christian organizations left. All of the world has gone into apostasy, and so it was up to him to kind of usher in God's true word. Well, the reason why you would call this person a snake oil salesman is because he literally was that. He was going around the countryside selling what he claimed to farmers to be the seed for miracle wheat. Well, anytime you have someone out there making these ridiculous claims, you're going to have someone, at least in those days, you're going to have some journalists who are going to challenge him. And so he had in his side a thorn by the name of the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. This was a newspaper that called him on his claims about this miracle wheat, but also made it a point to mention how inerrant his doctrine was biblically. Well, Charles Russell did not take to that kindly, and so he filed a suit against them, claiming that the newspaper was defaming him. And because of his lawsuit, then naturally a court proceeding would take place. The good part about a court proceeding, though, is that there are transcripts to kind of help us to see what happened. One of the things that came out in the court process was Charles Russell's lack of understanding of the Bible. Now, we need to back up for a second. This is an organization that believes that God's true name is Jehovah, and we ought to call him that out of respect, that it's sinful not to call him Jehovah. Well, a couple of things. One, we're not sure if the V sound is an accurate sound at the beginning of Hebrew. Now, there are some scholars who debate that point, so I won't really get into that. But what we do know for a fact is that the J sound is absent in Hebrew as well as Greek. The J sound is a sound that comes around a little later in the next several centuries, introduced primarily, we think, by German scholars who try to compensate by adding the J to what they think is the correct pronunciation of his name, Yahweh. Now, we don't even know if that's the correct sound of his name, because Jews did not, or Hebrews did not have it, doesn't have any vowels, and nor did the Masoretes give it any vowels when they maintained the Jewish text. So where they get this term Jehovah, and to state that that's the name that we ought to call him, we just don't know. It's okay to call him Jehovah, that's not the problem, but to state that it is a sin to not call him that, well, there's no basis for that. More than that, this is an organization that states that they understand and they have the true translation of the Bible. You have heard it talked about many times, no doubt, about how they handle the character and the deity of Jesus. They deny that he is the true God. They would put him in the category of a God. Now, we're going to look and see if that makes biblical sense, and we're going to do so using their scriptures. Here is an organization, here is a man that claims to have the right interpretation of scriptures. However, we're going to find out that he didn't even understand the languages that were used that our English versions were derived from. He didn't understand Hebrew or Greek, though he had bragged and boasted as though he was a Hebrew and Greek scholar. Well, on the stand during his lawsuit against this newspaper, the question was asked, do you understand, can you read Greek? Well, to maintain his facade, he answered the question as to whether he understood and could read Greek. He answered stating that he could read and understand Greek. Well, so what would any lawyer do as a follow-up question? They would give him a Greek text to read. And so they gave him the Greek text, and it may have been the book of John, I'm not sure, but I believe that's what it was. They gave him the book of John to read, and of course, he was found to be a fraud. He could not read it. Well, thinking that maybe this might be too difficult of a task, maybe at least because he's got all this pressure on the stand, they offered him something easier to read. They gave him the Greek alphabet. He still could not read that, and so he was forced to admit on the stand in court that he had lied about being able to read and understand Greek or Hebrew. Well, why is that important? Well, when you tell everyone that our interpretation, our translation of the Greek and Hebrew scriptures are incorrect and yours are correct, well, now we see that, no, we can't trust your word. You can't even read the text yourself. And so you're in no position to tell anyone else how they are in error when it comes to their translations. This is a man who had multiple affairs with his wife. And so after a divorce and the court had ruled that he owed, I think it was about 20-something thousand in alimony, he got around that by taking all of his assets and pushing it into the coffers of the Watchtower Society. I'm not sure how that actually ended, but that's the kind of man that we're dealing with here. This is the kind of person who is the founder. This is the founder of this organization. So if the foundation is rotten, if the foundation is shaky, what does that say about everything else that's built on top of it?